Hello friends, tonight we're going to take a look at my spectacular CZ-75 SP-01 Tactical. These are amazingly well-designed firearms packed with features at a very attractive price, I think. But price aside, even if it cost $1,000, this would still be a remarkable handgun. But first, a bit of background. CZs are quite rare where I live in the South, and well, I feel like Americans in general just don't know a whole lot about the history of the company. So let's fix that. I'll give you a little bit of background. Maybe you'll think it's interesting. Or really boring, but either way, here goes. CZ is short for Česká Zbrojovka, and I'm sure I just completely butchered that pronunciation. So to any Czech folks watching, I'm really sorry. In 1936, CZ began weapons production in Moravia, a region of then Czechoslovakia, further from the German border, as Germany remilitarized and, well, prepped for the terrible expansion that we all know followed. The factory was built really quickly, within 16 weeks of the decision to move production. And I think that through decisions like that, we get a feel for the anxiety felt by Nazi Germany's neighbors as they were sort of gearing up to fight fascism. I think through that decision, we can sort of feel the press that they all felt. So what follows is tremendously complicated, so please forgive my rather simplistic explanation, but via the Munich Pact, which was aimed at appeasing Nazi Germany, Hitler was able to annex huge chunks of Czechoslovakia, Moravia included. The Czechs weren't even invited to the Pact conference. Essentially, in my opinion, they were completely sold out by the Allies because, as we know, such appeasement absolutely did not work. Nazi Germany continued its expansion, and the Czechs and the Poles and many other people groups suffered greatly. So I don't think it was in any way successful and was a colossal mistake. Anyway, Czechoslovakia was left vulnerable after the war, as you can imagine, and via neighboring Soviet influence, the country became a communist state following a coup in 1948. Under the communist regime, CZ became a government enterprise like most every industry. Throughout the Cold War, CZ produced many fine firearms, as you likely know, and many notable designs, as they had prior, from the VZ-58 rifle to the Scorpion submachine gun. The CZ-75 was designed in 1975 by, and I'm going to butcher this also, Franciszek Kuki. Seemingly for export, from what I can tell, considering that the 9mm Parabellum cartridge was not standard to the Czech army or to the Warsaw Pact countries. The mechanism is derived from the tilting barrel Browning design, and as a result, the gun looks, to me, a bit like the Browning high power, both inside and out. The standard CZ-75 looks more like the high power. The rail kind of makes this one look a bit different. But anyway, so we have this kind of Browning design. It looks similar to the high power. I think that CZ probably knew they had a hit on their hands, especially at the time when revolvers still kind of reigned supreme, at least as far as police departments were concerned. Folks always talk about that in relation to Wonder 9s, but let's face it, I mean, 9mm pistols had been around for quite a while. Automatic pistols weren't exactly a new invention at the time, but, you know, having something on hand that held that much ammo, that was remarkable. And this, along with the Beretta 92, the Glock, and the 6 Hour 226, which came later, kind of ushered in the era of the Wonder 9 pistol. The Czechs were a bit more industrially capable than many of their Eastern European neighbors, and armament export made up a very large portion of the Czech economy. Well, I say very large, a substantial portion. Though the U.S. had an import ban on most communist weapons, making the CZ-75 pretty rare in America, despite the buzz that it generated in the States. Following the collapse of communism, CZ became a private enterprise once more in 1991, and CZ-75s became far more common in the U.S. They've been gaining prestige and popularity every year I can remember since I've been into firearms. They're seen in the hands of firearms competitors and enthusiasts worldwide. And CZs continue to turn out revered designs. Look at the Scorpion Evo, the 805 rifle, and man, the wildly popular P10C. So, you know, how could I not want to get my hands on a CZ? I've always wanted a CZ-75. Let's look at the features of this particular one, which I think are quite remarkable. This gun is very heavy, very heavy, and it really soaks up the recoil. The recoils are just minimal. The frame steel, we have our fine light rail here, which I think looks very nice too. We have two 18-round magazines. There's a decocker on the tactical model, decocker and no safety, which I like. I think that a safety just gets in the way. We also have this marvelously comfortable rubberized grip and extended beaver tail. Really nice, feels great. The CZ-75, as you probably know, has the inverted slide rails, where it's riding inside, or on the outside of the slide rather than the inside like you normally see. We get Meprolite night sights, which are really nice. My favorite brand of night sights. A really nicely beveled magazine well. Hope you can see that. And an awesome trigger. Let's look at this. So the double action is really smooth. Really smooth. The single action also is very smooth. The single action is very satisfying. Let's take a look at the reset too. I like it. So this review is going to be a bit longer, so you'll probably hear me clicking through my notes here. I apologize. I don't normally like for there to be clicking during reviews, but so the CZ-75 SP-01 Tacticals competitors. I think any of the high-capacity Wonder 9s would qualify as competitors, I'd say, but probably only really the double-action, single-action, hammer-fired metal ones, like the Beretta 92, the SIG 226, the all-but-forgotten Walther P88, and, of course, the Browning High Power. Really just pick a metal gun that holds a ton of 9mm bullets in the magazine, and you have a competitor to this gun. But this gun has a lot less recoil than most of its competitors. It's on par or perhaps even a bit less than the Beretta 92, which I consider to be extremely soft shooting. It also points very naturally, and it feels a lot smaller than it is, unlike, say, the SIG 226, which I personally find to feel very massive in my hands. Even more so than the Beretta, if you can believe it. I know that's not a standard opinion to have, but that's how I feel about it. I think the trigger is superior to most pistols too, regardless of brand or operating principle, especially that single action. Seriously, it's remarkable. Also, this pistol is really feature-packed, going for literally half of what its competitors, if similarly outfitted, would go for. And its fit and finish are world-class and would be pretty remarkable at any price. It feels like a custom top-of-the-line defensive or competitive pistol for the same price as like a Gen 5 Glock with night sights. By the way, I'm not knocking Glocks. I shot them almost exclusively for a decade, but this is an objectively nicer pistol for the money than a Glock. And CZs also have a certain style and undefinable coolness that most other pistols, barring, in my opinion, the Beretta 92, just don't seem to have. You know, SIGs are cool and all, but the man or woman who shows up with a CZ, that makes people say, you know, he or she, they really know what firearms are all about. Now, why did I pick this CZ? Well, it looks really cool, and it has an absolutely absurd list of features. Things that I sort of vow to do to every gun I buy but never get around to. It's like CZ took a CZ-75 and just added every feature that I would ever personally request. It felt tailored specifically to me, almost. Other CZs that I've held felt amazing, and I'd love to have them all, but many of them don't have rails, and they don't have night sights, and I kind of consider those features almost mandatory. I chose it over the ever-popular P10C. Well, I shouldn't say ever-popular, it's pretty new, but, you know, the wildly popular P10C. Because I've just gotten kind of tired of striker-fired plastic guns after shooting them a lot over the years, and I wanted the classic, the 75. I think everybody should own a CZ-75, so why not buy one that is completely packed with amazing features? But how does it feel and shoot? Well, there is virtually no recoil, and the recoil that there is extremely smooth. I'm sort of bore axis agnostic, I guess, but this gun does make a pretty good case for the importance of low bore axis. That said, I think the lack of recoil has far more to do with the amazingly satisfying weight of this all-steel gun more than anything else. And as far as shooting it goes, the trigger allows me to shoot the gun very accurately and very quickly. The reset is a bit longer than I'm accustomed to, but I adapted to it within a few minutes. I think I may have adapted to this gun quicker than any other I've ever owned, really. And then the first 5 rounds, it kind of felt like an old friend. And I think the incredibly well-designed, contoured, rubberized grip has something to do with how familiar it feels. So it kind of molds to your hand when you pick up the gun, and it's very ergonomic to begin with. Also, the decocker is really slick. It brings it to like a half cock position, which means that the double action is a little bit easier. So you can cock it and then bring it to the half cock with the decocker, and the gun is sort of, I don't know, like at half ready, being at that half cock position with the lighter double action pull. I think that's a super cool feature. Also, the magazine release is really big, which I like. And having that really highly beveled mag weld just makes magazine changes feel really good. It makes them feel really easy and I don't know, fun. So what would I change about this gun? Well, any of the negatives that I could say about this gun are kind of just inherent to the CZ-75 design, and if you changed any of those things, it would change the fundamental character of the gun for the worse. For instance, the slide is harder to work. There's not much slide there, as you can see. It's really small, but they've got serrations here at the front and at the rear, so it's not that bad. You get used to it, and if you gave that up, and it were easier to grip, it would mean giving up the low bore axis and, I don't know, the inverted slide rails maybe. I think the benefits outweigh the trouble here. The trigger reach in double action is kind of long, but you get used to that. I don't think that can really be changed. It's just part of the pistol. So, you get used to it. What more can I say? Also, field stripping the gun is easy, but not as easy as modern polymer pistols or Beretta 92s, and the magazines are really expensive. Also, I do want to show you how to field strip it because, like I said, it is a little bit more difficult, and it lets me show you the inverted rails too. So you line up these 2 notches. One is on the frame and one is on the slide, and the easiest way to do that seems to be to grip it inside the trigger guard like so, and then CZ advises us to take the magazine and press out this pin. There we go. And I do have a hard time getting this thing apart quickly, and I think part of it is because the gun is new and stiff. And you know what? I may need to push the pin a little bit further, but I'm not going to edit this. I want you to see that I'm struggling with it because I think that's important. Man, hang on. I'm going to have to back away from the table for a moment. There we go. So see, that was not the easiest in the world. I'm sure it'll loosen up. As I get used to the gun, I'll get better at doing it too, but it's important to know that it's kind of hard to do. And then you just pull the slide off, and here you can see the inverted rails. That's cool. And then we've got our non-captured guide rod, like so. And then a barrel and lockup mechanism that looks very much like a high power, right? It's funny how much less the slide weighs than the frame. And then we fit it back on there, push it back to the right spot, put the pin back in. There you go, and it's back together. That said, it's an older style of gun, and the disassembly is not difficult. It's just a little bit harder than we're all used to. I still think it's an absolutely great gun, and I don't really consider these cons. They're just worth mentioning. So what will I do with this gun? I will shoot it for fun. I plan to use it to train for competitions and then later to compete in competitions. But this gun would be great for home defense with the features that it's got. I mean, God, this is almost like the ultimate home defense gun, is it not? But it's so much fun to shoot. It's really just a target gun for me. It kind of makes me want to stay at the range all day. The first 2 days I got it. The first 2 days I had it, rather, I shot 400 rounds through it. So yeah, it's pretty fun to shoot. All right, so my final thoughts. I tend to favor very polarizing guns. I'm a huge fan of the Beretta 92. But before I tell you how I feel about this somewhat polarizing gun, I have to tell you, the CZ-75 either suits you or it does not. For some people, the small slide is very, very hard to operate. My wife, who is an excellent marksman, capable of operating almost any gun with ease, can't even rack this gun. For her, it is totally unusable. She just cannot shoot this gun. She wouldn't be able to load it. But in my hands, it allows me to shoot the smallest groups I've ever shot. I'd love to tell you that those groups are the result of my great skill, but that would be a lie. I really, really suck, and it's all the SP-01. When I pick this gun up, I immediately feel a bond with it. It's like it had been waiting in the shop for me, and I bought it on the spot when I felt it and felt that sort of bond. It has a strange, quirky magic that you just have to experience. Furthermore, there are certain features that I almost require in a handgun, and this gun meets all of my personal specifications. That's very rare. It's like CZ reached inside my big old stupid empty head and built the gun that they found in there. Which, now that I'm saying that out loud, I don't know why anybody would want that gun, but it turned out great. Yeah. So, I think that sort of personal fit is very rare, to find that sort of perfection in a way. In my opinion, this is one of the ultimate fighting pistols or competition pistols in production. And then you see that it costs only a little bit more than a Glock with night sights. That's shocking. It's really shocking. I expected this gun to be a lot more when I looked at the price tag. I was very shocked. So this is a remarkable gun built to a remarkable standard by a remarkable company. And it has a soul. A lot of guns just feel soulless to me. This one doesn't. It feels like it has real personality. I can't wait to get to know it better, and who knows, perhaps one day you'll see the two of us in the competition circuit. Assuming I can figure out a way to suck a lot less than I do now. But hey, I'll keep practicing. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.